Welcome to the 18th Brussels Forum. 18. Do you remember when you were 18? The world was ahead of us, and we knew we needed to leave the world that we knew. So in the US, this typically means we are ready to go to college. And that was one of my most powerful memories. The day I went to college, my mom and dad took me into my dorm room, settled me in. I walked them to the car, and then I gave them a big hug, and I had to turn around. And I took the longest and most difficult walk of my life away from them. If I had looked back, I would have turned around and run right back to them. But there was no going back, and that's really frightening. But everything was in front of me that day, and that was really exciting. This is exactly where we find ourselves today, because after February 24th, 2022, we can't go back to where we were. We can only go forward. And I assure you, everything is in front of the transatlantic relationship. Yes, there are great threats. There are great uncertainties about our transatlantic future. And certainly Russia's full-scale war demonstrated that globally. There are technological advances, generative AI, the climate crisis, economic competitiveness, China's global vision. We have new diplomatic initiatives from middle powers and swing states that are challenging our understanding of our role in diplomacy. We have very deeply divisive internal politics, and all of this gives us this heightened sense of uncertainty, and we want to cling back to that knowable past. But there is no turning back. We are walking through a major transition of the international system. But here's the good news. The transatlantic relationship really knows how to do transitions and transformations. Just look how we transformed 75 years ago. It took very difficult decisions to economically support Europe through the Marshall Plan. It was difficult to defend Berlin from a Soviet blockade. And then we were able to secure this transatlantic alliance through NATO. We are now retracing some of those very steps in the coming weeks with the London Ukraine Recovery Conference, the NATO summit in Vilnius in July, and a successful Ukrainian counteroffensive. GMF knows a little bit about transitions and transformations as well. Since the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union, GMF has been working with Central and European civil society organizations to help them transform their countries. And we are still there, building, defending, and transforming their countries and their democracies. GMF also convenes with purpose and problem solving. We utilize this extraordinary network of fellows and alumni of our wonderful thought leaders and civil society organizations from around the world. All of you in this room and those who are joining us online, we harness this network to solve problems. So we're problem solvers, we're builders, we transform. So now the question I have for all of you today is, how do we build a durable and inclusive international system that will be with us for decades to come? How do we best rebuild Ukraine? How do we bring the best tech to address the climate crisis? How do we sustain economic competitiveness at the same time that we deepen citizen engagement in all of our democracies? How can we build a future where Atlanticism brings hope to the next generation? Once again, history speaks to us. Remember Secretary of State George Marshall's 3 most important questions that you just saw on the screen. They will help guide us as we build this new post-war order. What is needed? What can best be done? And my favorite, What must be done? We must begin to answer those questions today. We must begin to build a new Atlanticism. You are the new Atlanticism. So let's get started. Let's get building.